Let's go. Take two. Sorry, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the LA Poker Roundup. It is March 5th, 2024, and this is episode 26. I had a little technical difficulty there on the first one, so for all of you who are tuned in early, we really appreciate you. I apologize. That was not on purpose, but this just really weeds out the ones who didn't want to be here. So, Frank being first twice, we know who our real fans are. All right, let's get going.
And Ty actually works in technology, if you can believe it or not.
Yeah, well, I have people to do this for me now. I'm a manager now, so I've shed that.
You don't touch
those
things.
Days.
They don't touch things anymore.
Exactly, they don't let me touch things anymore. This week, let's wrap up that LAPC. It is that was the last weekend of the LAPC, the Remington event. They closed it out with. Let's go over the results.
And then live at the Commerce stream finally launches.
Much anticipated and to much fanfare, I hope. All right, and as we speak right now, the first big quantum of the bikes winning on the Green Series, day 2 is happening. The one that started at 5 p.m., so we'll check in on that and see what's going on.
And around the rumor mill, there's a lot of unpaid debts going on right now around poker Twitter. So we're going to get into that. And then also boxing stud and local LA poker player Ryan Garcia seems to be having some issues in his personal life. So we're going to go over that.
Yeah, it's wild out there in the Twitter streets and in the poker world. So be careful, man. And then we will finish up, as always, with the weekly roundup. All right, so let's just jump right into it. The final event, the Remington. Congratulations to... Oh, I don't have his name on the screen. There you go. Congratulations to Mr. Andrew Cha. He takes the trophy home in the Remington. And actually, congratulations pretty much equally to Mr. Robert Gill, a friend of the pod, friend of ours, who actually got a little bit more money than Andrew in the final chop. So what happened was in the final, two of them got to the end. They decided on a money split and a 3K save. I believe that's written right here. Yep. So they agreed on this chop. They saved $3,000 to play for that and the trophy. And the trophy went to Andrew with the 10 and 8 of diamonds here, who beat the ace and the 7 of Rob. Apparently, in a pretty moving story, Andrew said he was playing for his dog Melvin, who just passed away a month ago, and that is what this sweatshirt. He's got a picture of Melvin's face right on there. Isn't that sweet?
That's really cute.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, congrats to both. I mean, obviously, Rob is a good friend of ours. Reg, Andrew. I mean, have you played with Andrew? I think I played with him once, and I don't remember anything like super notable.
I haven't played with him a lot. I did play with him when we bagged up on the last flight of this thing, and he just moved to my table right near the end when we bagged, and yeah, nothing notable. He just played kind of solid. He played kind of, nothing notable, so probably well and not crazy, not too tight, not nothing. So he stacked up a bit there, and yeah, and really congrats to these. I believe this is the high score for both of these guys. I know it's the high score for Rob. He's finally gotten that kind of monkey off his back, I think, because for the last year and a half, he's been complaining to me that he keeps winning all the small ones, that he can do well in the little ones, that every time he comes in with a big chip stack, he doesn't even make the final table, he fumbles it. But this time, almost wire to wire, Rob came into day 2 as the number 2 in chips. And
yeah, I mean, I mean this as a compliment, but I'm actually surprised that this is a rare deep run in a big tournament for you, because I consider Rob a very, very good player. So it just seems like you were probably on the wrong end of variance or something.
Yeah, for sure. And Rob is definitely extremely adept, I would say, at handling the local scene, the LA scene, and these like early fields. He's really good at building stacks very fast, and the more adept he gets and the more experience he gets making these super deep runs, like the more dangerous he's going to be. I think we're definitely not the end of Rob at these things. And the other cool thing is, as you've said before, it's really hard to go kind of wire to wire with a big stack, right? I mean, he comes in second in chips.
Yeah, and he took second.
Yeah, and let me tell you, our starting table, I was at his starting table on day 2. And if you had come over to Rob a half an hour into the day, he probably would have told you he was going to be out in another hour or two. That day must have been ups and downs and highs and lows for him like crazy. He was pretty loudly complaining that he lost the first 8 hands he played. He was down to about 1.1 million before the first level was over, or before the second level definitely. But he quickly got it all back.
And that's even more impressive is when you come into day two with a really big stack and you lose a significant chunk of it, a lot of people just get very demoralized and they kind of almost punt it off. But you just gotta understand that now you're just in a different situation with a different stack, and now you got to play a different strategy, and you just got to play your best. And it sounds like Rob did that, because that, I mean, it felt like, even, and we'll talk about a couple of hands, but right going into the final table, he lost a huge pot, and he was still able to come back and take second. So definitely kudos to him for keeping his head.
Yeah, well, being at his table, I think that he actually just started getting really lucky until he knocked me out. So that's the other. That's the other thing.
Just try to punt.
I don't know about that, but he just started winning. It's always a good. That's always a good way to do it. So he did actually knock me out. So thus continuing the tradition of if one of my friends busts me on a deep into day two, you're just gonna win. I mean, it worked for you. It worked for Rob. I got to think back if this is a thing, if it's happened a couple other times or not. But
I mean, there's gonna be a little bit of headhunting now
for sure
for you, because you just have like an implicit bounty.
As if I wasn't getting enough action. Jeez.
What's up to Xander and Scala in chat? What's up, guys? Thanks for joining us.
Yep. Hey guys. Oh, condolences, Xander. I think I saw you busted out of the day two there. And Derek, the worst part about this one was that he had me massively out chipped so we got it all in, my jacks versus ace queen. So he had about 1.8 million at the time, and I only had 300K. So I couldn't even propose, hey, we're flipping, let's do a little swap,
Yeah.
But I just didn't have the chips, couldn't do it. I tell you what, I bagged the night before, and I got home at like 2:00. And maybe even later, maybe like 2:20, and then I had some stuff to do. I didn't get a lot of sleep that day. I think I got like 5 to 6 hours of sleep. So it was a tough one coming back to play on that. And I definitely, thinking back, I was definitely not playing an A game there. It was definitely like a C game. So definitely
I think you
tough.
made a pretty good point in that pass that maybe, the flight right before the day two might be should be a turbo, right? To get people out there a little bit earlier. Because
think so.
Exactly that, right? Yeah, and you live like a freaking far away from the commerce, so it's like quite a trek for you.
Yeah, definitely wasn't.
We got Waisha in chat. What's up, Waisha? And also Andrew C61, first time tuning in. Welcome, Andrew.
Oh, awesome.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And hey, everybody out there, as you're watching, or if you're watching later on the replay, make sure that if you are not subscribed, please subscribe so that you get the notifications when we schedule these things. Your little teaser for later, you're definitely going to want to have those notifications on for when we go on next week. And I promise, this is only the second time in 26 episodes I have accidentally canceled the stream as soon as we started it. That does not happen usually, so you won't get booted out very much. You were talking like 7% of the time you get booted out. So turn on the notifications, guys, please. All right. So, I want to take a look at this final table and give everybody their flowers, as the kids say these days, because, wow, this final table, man, it was really
stacked.
A who's who. I mean, I tell you what, the names...
Oh, wait, is this the Andrew who won is in the chat?
It might be. Well, Andrew C.
I think that's what Frank is saying. Yeah, he's congratulating, because Frank always knows who everybody is, but congrats, buddy.
Oh, geez. Yeah, congratulations, man. You can give us some insight when we start talking about the actual play here. So let me bring up this final table. So this is just all the it is. Hey, Andrew. Yeah, I did give him our card, I believe, on the day one we bagged up.
Maybe that's another good luck charm.
Right.
Get,
exactly.
Our business cards from Ty, and you win a tournament.
Andrew, you need to walk it around. Like, look, if you're my buddy, knock me out. If you don't know me, get the card, subscribe. You're gonna win. That's how it works, right? That's how it works.
Right? No joke, that is a soul read, because I feel like if you didn't actually know that was him and you just guessed that was
he probably did.
Good.
Yeah, I was trying to, honestly, I was looking back to find his last
He was like,
name.
welcome. He's like, welcome, Andrew. I was like, wait, what?
All right. So let's talk about this final table, right? So here in seat one, we had Jackie Lee. So this is a super reg. This is just, he's at every event. He's at
every single one. Yeah.
I didn't verify, but I would bet that at the Gardens free roll, he probably had like more chips than Jesse. I'm not sure. Jesse can maybe verify, but this guy's at every event. You see him everywhere. He's playing everything. So way to go, Jackie. Super reg.
His superpower is like, he literally, if he's in a huge pot with you, he's just got you crushed. Like, that's just what happens. But he always somehow makes me slightly believe that he doesn't. Like, somehow I don't know why. It's like his superpower, and then I'll just like.
And you know what? The other thing about him is, as a super reg, a lot of the super regs that you see at these things, they tend to play a bit on the tighter side, a bit more on the I'm just going to min cash side. But Jackie He is not afraid. He gets it in there. This guy definitely, if he likes his hand and he thinks you don't have it, they're going in. So that guy is going to battle with you. And then David Van Noy, I actually haven't played as much with this guy, so I'm not as familiar with David. Did you get to play with him?
I played a bunch with him. He is definitely much more on the skilled side. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a pro, or at least like a semi-pro, just from the kind of the way that he plays. He does seem a little bit closer to theoretically correct, and he's like, leans on the more aggressive sides, does a lot of ISOing.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely a very, very strong player.
Yep, I definitely got that impression from him when I was going through there. And Andrew's talking about a hand I bluffed him near the end, closer to the bubble on day one. We were blind versus blind, and I just kind of went for it and showed him basically the 7 high. I had to do it. It was near the bubble, man, and the everyone on my left was so sticky. You were the only person I thought could fold. But yeah, I think I had the old 7-4 offsuit in the big blind, and the board. What I do? I barreled the turn, and then I like potted the river on like ace, king, jack, like 6 something. So what are you gonna do? Sixes are tough. It's all right. It's good luck. So whenever I bluff you, you should just fold. It's good luck. You win the tournament.
Knowing how to get bluffed sometimes actually leads to better results. So it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay to get bluffed every once in a while.
Yeah. Just means you know how to fold, obviously. And here's we have Andrew. So Andrew, I showed these 2 pictures to my wife, and I told her, that's not the sweatshirt that he's wearing in this picture. So did you have the picture of your dog on under this, or was of Melvin under this, or was it did you change for the winner's picture? Okay, so after Andrew, I will wait for the stream to catch up to get that answer. After Andrew, we have Fausto. He seems like he's been knocking on the door of every one of these tournaments lately. I know he was having a really rough February, though. I think he was within 5 of the bubble in like 8 times in February. But on March 1st, he bagged, and he made it. He made it here to the final table.
Yeah, he is already obviously an extremely good player. But just I feel like with each of these tournaments, he's continuing to better navigate like these crazy fields that we have here in LA at the Commerce and the bike. So it's going to be pretty formidable if he continues to improve in the way he navigates these very non-GTO fields.
Yeah. The better read you can get on the locals with that kind of a theoretical base, it's scary. Oh, Andrew said his hair was just covering it under here. Okay. All right. That's fair. Seat 5, Peter Cross. So, holy cow. Peter is
another stud.
Yeah.
Just another stud. Yeah.
The first time I saw his name was when he won that mystery bounty that overlaid at the bike last year. But then I looked him up, and geez, he won the kind of consolation WPT event the year before that. He's just on a major heater, and from everything I've seen, this guy is a killer at the table, absolute. Rob was saying he was super impressed with his play all day, and that's a lot because Rob doesn't compliment anybody.
Yeah, I've played not a ton with him, but just he's a very, very strong player, and you can tell he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, to be quite fair, I mean, he's obviously a local. To be quite fair, after that win and how sharp and how solid it seems he plays, I'm a little surprised he was even playing this event, really, and wasn't up at the win or something like that,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I guess that's true. Yeah, it does feel like he kind of lands in that kind of Jared Griner, and so he'll kind of come out for the bigger ones a little bit. So
Yeah.
Maybe every once Remington hunting. Who knows?
Yeah, right. I'm sure he'll take something down soon enough. We'll have to have him on and talk to him about what's up, what's the situation. Maybe I mean, for all I know, maybe he's a student here and he's just at class. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then in seat 6, like holy cow, Rudy Cervantes. We've been trying to get this man on the pod, but he couldn't come on tonight because obviously he's down there at the bike right now. So like, geez, we got Fausto, we got Rudy,
ridiculous.
We got Peter, we haven't even gotten to Rob. We got Andy out there, or Andrew. We got. I don't even know if we have to say much about Rudy. I mean, he won
like a $400 buy-in big field event, and this is the final table that happened. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, how many entries total were in this thing? Right, we made it to almost double the prize pool, so there were probably there were over 770 or so, like about 770 entries total, and this is the final table. We get like wow,
it's crazy.
So Rudy obviously doesn't need a lot of introduction. If you're watching the pod, he won the XL stack earlier in the series, going for his second Remington here in this tournament. I think what was he, like 10th in the prime last year at the WPT? Like what a run.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
What a run he's been on. And then we have Rob here, seat 7. Rob came in, as I said, as the second in chips of this table as well, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, I believe he was second in chips coming into the final table, just like he was coming into the day. So Rob, obviously another real mega grinder, mostly weekend warrior like us. I think I see him every single time I go out, pretty much. So well deserved. And we'll talk more about Rob in a bit. Caleb Benton. So this guy,
Oh my God!
I
Are you
call him a
kidding?
kid, but
I forgot Caleb was at this final table too.
yeah, and he just won a Remington last week. And I asked him. He won a Remington last year. He didn't win multiple this time, but he won. He just won a Remington last week. This kid is a real up and comer. He's been
Yeah.
on a steady, what's the word? Like a steady rise ever since I met him. He likes to joke around saying he's trying to chase me and chase, all the people who have good results around. But he's close. He's knocking on the door. He was just a couple steps away from taking this one down. So,
And
always,
usually, if I'm complimenting a player and saying that they're good, it's not because of their results. I'm not just looking at, oh, they seems to have cashed a lot. Usually, I'll just say, oh, it seems like that they're cashing a lot. But I play with all of these guys, and I can tell you, top down, every single person we've just named are just really, really good, strong, like theoretical players who know what they're doing.
well, I don't know if I would call them all theoretical, but I definitely would agree they're all strong. They all know what they're doing in these fields, and they're all hungry. So Caleb is definitely on the up. And another thing that impressed me about Caleb is, I do believe he's pretty young, and he seems to me to have a really kind of responsible way of approaching the game overall. Bankroll management, playing kind of responsibly in quote unquote that way, and grinding it out, putting in the time, right, putting respect in the game. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Props there. Way to go on that final table here. And then Reynaldo Soto, he came in as the chip leader of the final table. I'm pretty sure I played with this guy, but I can't remember as much. He's one of the two guys I don't have as much experience with or memory
Yeah.
of.
I don't even think I recognize him. Interesting.
It's
But yeah,
probably
good job.
he's
Good job.
This is quite a scowl that Kevin caught him on, so maybe he looks different when he's just hanging out, right? Because Kevin caught him in a real game face situation right here. So yeah, to talk about that one hand, to talk about some of the adversity Rob was going through that day. I'm not joking. Rob was really starting to feel cursed about coming into day twos with a big stack. So much so that in the morning of the day one I played on Saturday morning over at the Gardens, he was begging me. He was like, "Please, yeah, I really want you or someone else to go and bag a bigger stack than me because I just feel like it's bad luck." So, as we mentioned, he lost about over a third of his stack in the first 45 minutes. Battled his way back up. One of the crazy hands that. Then later on, after he busted me, I went and played the other tournament. On our first break, I come back over to look, and he goes from about 2 million, and I look down, he's got almost 7 million. I'm like, what the heck happened here? This hand was covered in the coverage, I believe. If not, I told Kevin about it. He should have went and asked. But this is how good he ran after he busted me, guys. All right. So he had aces. And he raised, and before it got back to him, two other people had gone all in, and they both had ace king. They both had ace king. So this is like some kind of like 4.5 million chip pot, just aces against two ace kings. Just like how much better does it get? There's not many more situations you'd want to be in than that. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I don't catch a lot of those like really big pots late in day twos, and when I do, usually I get smashed like I've been doing the last 2 weeks. Even when I get it in good, so it's pretty rough, but it's nice. It's nice definitely shipping one of those on late in a tournament.
Well, have I can see you getting smashed by like maybe one ace king, or like if you have kings against ace king, but like have you ever tried getting aces in against two ace kings?
No, I would still be sweating my balls off though, because it just crazy stuff happens.
Yeah, but on that hand, and just in general for this whole LAPC, I want to give a big kudos, big shout out to Kevin doing the coverage on this thing. Man, he did a great job, especially on this final table. I loved watching the updates from this final table. I was refreshing the page, refreshing the phone. Lots of big hands, lots of big swings.
Kevin, would love you to do more hand histories even before the final table. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I definitely would.
Yeah, because love reading them.
One of the things I like about Kevin's hand histories is he gives a little bit of a personal something he notices about the guys personally. Like pretty much before every call or every big decision, he'll mention like, oh, he sighed big, or oh, he he looked up to the sky and prayed real quick, or like he something like that.
Yeah, it's nice editorialism.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about this hand real quick. So this is right after the final table. They sit down at the final table, final nine. Rob's sitting there. Caleb's been on a tear. He was a short stack. He's battled into a middle stack, and Rob's sitting there with second in chips. Right. Big cooler, Ace King versus Queens, and right at the very start of the final table, Rob goes from second in chips to one of the bottom stacks, and now Caleb's the top stack. So
Yeah. So like this is what I mean is just you cannot panic when these things happen. So many people get demoralized when they lose a big chunk of a big stack, and then the wind gets out of their sails, and you can see in their body language, and you can see in the way that they're playing. But you just have to understand the new situation that you're in and play the best that you can. And that's what Rob did. Like he got crippled twice, right?
yeah,
In big spots, and he still came all the way back and basically tied for first.
yeah, absolutely. And even if it's not the final table, anytime during the day when that happens, you see it all the time. You see it constantly. Someone loses a big pot, they lose 2/3 of their chips. They still have like 15 bigs, and they just punt them off,
Right?
right? Even if you
Yeah, he
still,
just punt it off.
even if they only have
Right.
11 bigs, they just punt it off immediately, right?
Yeah, it's very much like psychological where it just really feels like, oh, I need to get my chips back because it just felt so good when I had them, and it sucks having the short stack. You cannot do that. You just have to be like, the best way of looking at it is as if you were at 15 bigs for the last 2 hours and you just continue to grind. Like
Exactly.
that's the way you have to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and if you can't do that, you're never going to be able to win a big tournament. I mean,
No.
imagine,
Yeah.
like, can you imagine trying to get through the main if the first time you have some bad luck, you're just gonna just steam it off? Come on,
Yeah,
you
man. I
have.
mean, people get down to like five bigs and they will just grug. Because the main event, especially with the hour levels and everything, it's just so. And you know what was interesting about this final table is we kept, we talked about how strong the final table was. When I actually went and like looked through the hand histories, I was trying to find something interesting for us to talk about, but it wasn't actually that much interesting to talk about because everyone just sort of played their hands like really straightforwardly, right? It just seemed like everyone was kind of getting their hands in good. The hands that were a little bit dicey were more like small blind jams, which
Mhm.
were all reasonable. Even the calls were all reasonable. So obviously, just a very, very strong table, and that showed up in the hand histories for sure.
Yeah, and because of that, honestly, that honestly made the hand histories really exciting to read because there's so many big swings. There were
Yeah,
a lot of leads
right.
changing, stacks flipping, people doubling back up to live. It was really fun. Really fun.
Andrew was saying in the chat, this final table was so shallow too. Definitely could not afford to tilt it off. Was 12 BBs average. Wow,
Oh
it
wow.
was really that low. No kidding.
So did
Because usually all the coppers tournaments have been super well structured at the final table. I'm surprised about this one.
was it a pretty long final table, Andrew? Do you remember how many levels you played before you got to six left? Because with all these players being really good, I could definitely see them taking a little longer to get through than some other final tables, right?
Yeah, Xander was saying this one was crazy fast. I guess I didn't make day two, so I had no idea what that was going on. But yeah, just the rest of the tournaments of the Converse have been fantastic in terms of structure. So
Yeah.
I'm surprised about this one.
It
I'm also surprised that you guys didn't do a deal if you had a 12 BB average with six left. That's actually the point where you might want to go do a deal because it's basically all in a
Yeah, but
fold.
if Fausto, Peter, and Rudy and Rob are still there or whatever, they may not be talking much yet. You know.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
even at a table like that, I mean, you're just playing slots at that point. But yeah,
yeah, it can happen.
it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably the fast structure. I think there's a very good chance is because of the number of chips you started with, right?
Yeah.
Because you started this tournament with insane number of chips. This is a 50K starting stack, so
It was big. Yeah.
yeah. So whenever you start with that many chips, the structures tend to have to warp in some way. So maybe that was what happened. I also
And
didn't.
also if they had doubled the entries, with that many people, then I guess maybe it just probably took a little bit longer to get bust people out. So sometimes that will also make it feel a little bit faster at the end because there's so many people that entered.
Yeah, yeah. So all those things definitely possible. Yeah, I didn't survive long enough to notice the structure getting too fast either because I busted out right as we got back to the blind level where we finished the night the day before. So the nice rollback. So what are you gonna do? All right.
Yeah.
Well, so that is the end of LAPC for this year. It wasn't bad. The 1K was fantastic. The numbers were pretty good overall, except for the 10K. Hopefully, they find a solution for that 10K next year. I'd really like to see it come back and be something again, or just gotten rid of, honestly. Just replace it with something else. Let's see.
Yeah. So Andrew is saying move pretty fast, 800K BB with 9.6 million average. But
Mm,
distribution was pretty skewed. I had 5 million. People were just hoping for ladders. No deal
gotcha.
brought up
Yeah.
until. Yeah, I think that kind of happens even with 12 BBs, I guess,
Yep. People are playing
it,
ICM
it,
and laddering.
There is a skill in what you jam and what you call. So there is definitely still a skill edge there.
Yeah. So, yeah, hopefully next year LAPC is back and even better. Maybe we get to 2 million on that 1K. That'd be great. We'll find. Hopefully they find some other. I don't want to call them gimmicks, but some other things to promote and bring it up. So I entered the afternoon tournament. You were battling over there as well. I think I lasted a little longer than you, but I also found the door sometime in the afternoon. And then when I was leaving, I came down the stairs. I was walking out, and I don't know how I didn't notice it before, but there's a giant window straight ahead when you walk down the stairs from Ballroom now. And that giant window, what is in there but the new Live at Commerce? I saw Berkey in there. I saw Mr. James Woods, right? I saw Turbo, tournament player. He plays all the quantums and whatnot. I see him over there. So they were all in there battling. So we had the launch of Live at Commerce, and let's see, I have the intro video, little sizzle reel they had, so why don't we quick.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so that was their intro video, or rather that was their post sizzle video. I don't know. So yeah, the stream has launched. It has moved. It's Live at the Bike is basically now Live at Commerce. The live at Trop days are numbered. As you know, Tropicana will be getting knocked down for the A's, the Las Vegas A's, I guess. They will be having their stadium built out there, so that's going down. So we have another stream room in town. So Xander, G-Man was supposed to play. So yeah, let's talk about that. So this opening stream was supposed to be a 200-400 game with G-Man, with Berkey, with Rampage, I think, with some other folks. And for some reason, probably something happened to make the game somewhat fall apart, and they had to lower the stakes down to 50-100. G-Man put out a tweet. He actually, last week, I think we talked about it. We showed the tweet where he was promoting coming on. And then since then, when the game got down, he put out another tweet apologizing, saying, sorry, the game's too small. I'm not going to come out. Matt Berkey did still come out. And the lineup, as I mentioned, was, a couple people that we recognize. Woods plays the mixed game tournaments, and I think, and Turbo plays the Hold'em ones. What? Yeah.
Barry Woods? Yep. Oh, yeah. He's more of a no limit home player, and I used to actually play cash games with him way back in the day. He still, shows up for a couple of the big tournaments here and there, but yeah, super nice guy.
Yep. So they launched with a smaller game. It went pretty long, but did anybody watch it? Did you watch it, Derek?
I only saw like a clip or two on Twitter, but I didn't watch it.
Yeah. So I watched about 20 minutes of it or so. Shout out to Jared Greiner, another, as we've mentioned his name several times. He was in the booth doing commentary, probably doing the, kind of the analytical stuff. So way to go there. Hoping he stays involved with the production. So that's nice. But I watched it for a little while. It was very kind of similar to the other streams that they've had. The room in the shots was dark. It was it looked very dark, despite the lights, because they surrounded the table with these black kind of facades they had. So when you look through the window, it's interesting. When you look through the window into there, and where the stream room is in the old sports bar. They removed the actual bar from there, which is interesting. The table's kind of a little bit sunken, and they have the rest of the space from the old bar is like around, right? But they put up these little walls right by the table, so it's all closed in. If you look through the window behind the walls, you see they have some bar tables set up back there. There were actually some people sitting back there, and they have some booths and some bar tables and stuff. It's really cool, and I'm really disappointed by that, because what I was really hoping was that with that space and with the stadium seating, really, it's like a stadium setup. The around the table is all elevated. I was really hoping that we could get some sort of kind of like a World Series final table kind of vibe, where you have a table and you could actually have an audience or a rail sitting in there and watching and doing something. I felt like that would be really cool, really unique. I don't know about the security side of it, make people leave their phones, just put up a line that they can't across so that they can't, do anything. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it'd be really cool to have a stream room where you could have an audience, right? Wouldn't that be awesome? Like just like the World
Yeah.
Series. But that's not what they did. They put these big black walls up so that, as you see in the stream, there's just actually, I think in some of these pictures you can kind of tell that they've done that, and they really closed everything off. Here, if you look at this still from here, you can see the window there. So that's looking away from the, looking out towards the gaming floor. And then if you're at that window looking in, right behind these guys, like 2 feet behind these guys, are just the walls, and it's, I don't know, I think it's pretty ridiculous. So you see that wall behind Berkey, like if they took that wall away, you'd see chairs, you'd see some steps, you'd see like the whole back of the bar. I mean, if you've ever been back there, this is a whole restaurant. It was the whole restaurant area. So that's pretty disappointing. And then I watched Berkey's reaction to the show on OnlyFriends, and he had some strong words, honestly. He was extremely disappointed with the creative decisions of this thing and some of the prep that seemed like it wasn't done, honestly, which after hearing that, I'd be disappointed too. Like, for one thing, they weren't allowed to do bomb pots. They weren't allowed to double straddle. They weren't allowed to...
What?
Yeah, they weren't allowed to do all sorts, like stand-up game. They weren't allowed to do the stand-up game. They weren't allowed to do any of those things that, like, Hustler does. All the other streams seem to do that you can do out on the floor on some of these other areas. And they were told it was a gaming thing. Yeah, I guess they had to get it approved somehow, but I don't know.
I hear that a lot. I mean, we've heard that from DJ before too, when you tried to do a couple of those, like, creative events and look at the gaming board.
Right, they couldn't run it twice.
That's strange because because it happens at the other places, and it's not just like in the game, but like live on stream. So that's very strange.
So if that's just the case of Commerce has never officially applied or sent into the gaming board like, hey, we want to run games where you run it twice. Hey, we want to run games where you do bomb pots.
It's so stupid.
It's like and the point he made, which is really valid, like, guys, this stream was not a surprise. Why didn't you do that? We've known that this was coming for over a year. DJ showed me this space and said that this room was coming, I think, during LAPO, which was like last October or something. And they've known way longer than that. Like, what the heck?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say that the gaming board in California is a little bit ridiculous. No disputing that. But at this point, streaming cash games is such a solved thing. Like, everybody's been doing it for so long, you almost just have to kind of copy what everyone else is doing.
I mean, as a starting spot, right? At least.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So strange.
It's like ridiculous. Like, if you're gonna run a cash game, maybe you would check: are we allowed to run it twice in our cash game?
Right. Or
that we're gonna run next year. Oh, maybe we should work on that.
I mean, go ask. I think maybe just ask more questions. Like, talk to some of the other players. If you have, with Garrett, maybe if you have Garrett coming on the show, ask him for advice and help.
Yeah, and do it.
Pretty sure he'll be happy to help.
Do it more than a week ahead of time, right? So, and then apparently, so I missed the beginning of the stream, but apparently a lot of the stuff that they did at the beginning, Berkey mentioned, it felt like they tacked it on at the last second, and nobody really kind of prepped and thought about it. In that, they had like a ribbon cutting ceremony, and they didn't know how they wanted that to look, who they wanted to do it, where they wanted people to sit. It's like nobody really even wanted, like, the players were like, why are you doing that, And then they had this woman doing interviews, right? I believe they have a picture here. So they had they brought in a model, it's LA, they can find somebody to do interviews. And they also have Cairo on scene doing this. I was actually trying the other one because he was also doing commentary, so of course he was here. They had her, who is this, Elise Natalie, doing interviews, and Berkey was like, so they clearly didn't prep her, not even with questions to ask, though, because he went up and her interview question to him was, oh, so can you tell us a bit about yourself? It's like,
yeah, what? You know what? It's a little bit of a common theme, and obviously I don't think we can peg it on any one person or anything, but it does often feel like the bike and the commerce sort of make stuff up as they go, and they're not super organized about certain things. Obviously, they're very as an example, I feel like the floor staff at the tournaments at the commerce tend to be a little bit more like structured and organized, but it just feels like there's so many little things that feel kind of made up and very last minute, and they don't think things through.
Well, the thing is, for this one, right, is this isn't really on commerce. Commerce gave them the space. They made some deal. Like the whole production is Bally, right? It's Bally's
Oh, it's
Bally Live Poker.
Bally's.
Yeah, it's
That's
Bally
even
Live Poker.
worse
Yeah,
because they have been. They're the ones that have been responsible for running the streams before. So what the
exactly.
heck is going
That's what
on?
I'm saying. This is their third stream, right? And that was Berkey's point too, is that they bought Live at the Bike. They did it. They had a lot of problems at the beginning. They should have learned from. They did Live at Tropicana. I mean, they should be learning from that, right? But they still, like, the sound quality, the audio quality still isn't as good as it should be, right? And they still have all the same kind of lighting and, like, just visual issues, I guess, that people complain about. And it's, yeah, that's the thing. It's not Commerce's call to, like, suddenly call this person in and do this weird interview. It was Bally. Bally's decided to do that. And it's like, don't you do other sports stuff? Don't you know how to prep for a sports interview? I don't
I
even
mean,
know. It's
I
just
think they were doing bomb pots at live at the bike, right?
right.
So
So it's
that's just
definitely a per casino thing, right? So I'm pretty sure that per casino you need to apply for your specific game and get approved.
yeah.
And
But
every
Bally should have
change you
known that.
make, yeah, every change you make is another application, right? So like you said, when DJ wanted to run those things, he could run his anti-reduction tournament because it's the same game, but he couldn't run it twice. He couldn't run No River, right? Because those are different games and you have to reapply. So Commerce must
Yeah.
just not have applied for I don't, and also like the stakes might even matter. So maybe they just never applied for 25, 50 double board games or something. I'm not sure how it works, but it could be something as
Uh,
stupid as that.
I mean, I definitely am still putting the onus on our regulators for just making things so complicated for no reason. It feels like they don't even understand poker at all, and they're trying to do all these crazy things. But Bally's as an organization should know.
Yeah.
They should just know, and all this should have been taken care of. So I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
Berkey has a good point.
And Xander's saying, Hustlers obviously really good in all this stuff already. They've really got their groove, so they're going to be hard to compete with. So hopefully Bally's goals aren't to get the same numbers as Hustler because, yeah, at this rate, it's going to take a long time to get there. But, some other just really basic stuff that hopefully they clean up was he was also saying like their shuffle machine wasn't really working, and then the dealers they had were really slow and just didn't really seem comfortable doing any of the stuff. So it's like, why did they send
What?
those dealers in? Like, who
Right? You have world class freaking
exactly?
dealers in
Like,
LA.
how did they get picked?
I don't think you realize like how good our dealers are in LA until you go to Vegas for the World Series, and then you just see something. You're just like, my gosh, it feels like half of you. It's just like your first day dealing or something. Even like the lower tier dealers at in LA are some of the best dealers in the world. To be honest with you.
Yeah, and shout out to DJ. He's in the chat there. He's backing us up. He says that's how it works with applying for the games. So, if you guys have more questions about applying for the gaming board stuff, ask him in the chat. Maybe DJ will help us out.
Yeah, DJ, we'd love to hear a little bit more about how you need to apply for stuff like this because it seems just so wild.
Yeah, yeah,
And if it's not Commerce doing it and it's Bally's doing it, that's even less excuse because Bally's has the experience,
yeah.
doing all the
I
streams.
would guess Bally would have needed to realize it and then tell Commerce to do it, and then someone at Commerce would have to do it. But that sounds like a lot of hops for people who probably don't know how poker works. So, yep. So, and then, as long as we're talking about Commerce, you sent me a spicy little text as well. And, I'll tell you this, while I was sitting there, I believe it was at the end of day one. So maybe Andrew heard too. It was either at the end of day one or it was during the one day. I heard, one of the managers came in and was talking with,
Husky.
was it Hunsky?
And I think that's what you said.
Okay, yeah, was talking, and it was, yep, because Tony heard it, and he's the one that pointed out to me, and we heard the letters, WSOP, WSOPC, we heard the letters that they were talking about what a circuit would do, and I tried to lean back and listen. I did not exactly hear what they were saying, but the fact that they were talking about it and they're buzzing, that we got some more confirmation here. And
I feel like you should have just run up right into the middle of that conversation and been like, "What's going on?"
I wanted to, but it was close to the bubble.
That's very like you, Ty. That's it. Very unlike you not to charge in there like a bull.
I know. Well,
That's weird.
I wanted to. I really did, but we were getting close to bagging up, and we weren't on break. I couldn't do it. I needed to bag up. This was my 8th bullet, for crying out loud. Yeah,
Well,
and you heard of some spicy stuff too, right?
Yeah, I mean that's super exciting. Yeah, I had some sources telling me that there is some like whispers about WSOP, potentially coming to the Commerce. So we're crossing our fingers, waiting for that news because it is all just like rumors swirling around right now. But yeah, so this kind of you know, aligns, with some of the stuff that we're hearing from some of the people at the Commerce that they are committed, right, to not only the casino but poker in general. They're committed to investing it, committed to making poker better. And we've had all like the last episode that we had and all the discussions on Twitter about how the LA ecosystem is super falling behind the poker boom. Hopefully, the Commerce is going to pick it up and carry us back forward again.
Yeah, that would be really nice. And then, if they want to pick DJ back up, that'd be cool too. But, at least it'd be nice if somebody does something and if they could if they could be the ones, then I'm more power to them. They used to be the place, right? Commerce used to be the place to play poker on the West Coast.
Yeah.
If they could come back to that'd be great.
I put the number at the little bottom of my graph, but basically in 2019 the LAPC main event pulled in like 5.9 million, right? That was the total prize pool. Like, could you imagine a $6 million tournament in LA right now? It just seems completely wild, right? Like out in outer space, right?
It'd be like Christmas.
Right.
I can't even imagine. Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a 5.9 million, but we've got a 500K going on right now. I mean, that's exciting, right? After you said 5.6 million, right? Like,
yeah, this is what I mean, right? This is what LA can support. And when you see the growth of poker everywhere, when you're talking about 20% up to 60% in Florida, we can support an $8 million tournament in LA. No joke, right? A 1K should probably be pulling in 3 mil, if I'm being honest with you, right? If we're promoting it correctly.
Yep, if we have the resources and everything. So, but let's take a look at that 500K. I mean, that is what's going on right now, right? That is what's happening. That is what's Frank is actually probably sitting at the table listening and texting to us right now. So it turns out that there's at least 200 entries that, well, there were exactly 200, but there are at least 200. I don't want to say people because there are probably some double buys, but a fair number of people still came flying out to play at 5 p.m. on Tuesday. So 5 p.m. is not too late for everyone. It was too late for you and me. Tuesday in general was, but they still got a decent number of day two reg. So way to go. That added another 244,000 to the prize pool. So I ran some numbers.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, 200 is pretty good for a Tuesday night, right?
I think. Yeah, I was saying we were actually think they were actually going to miss, right? But that's a lot of people.
I was worried, but let's take a look real quick at their day one numbers, right? So in their day one numbers, they were kind of fighting with the Remington for a bit, and then after that, the lid kind of blew off, right? So they ended up getting putting 328 bags through, but this part's kind of crazy. Listen to this. They had 50. Wait, I counted them. They had 70 double bag bonuses paid out.
That's insane.
70 out of 328. So this is exactly kind of what I was describing. What I thought might happen is people just grinding those 20% baggers, right? Grinding those 20% get through. And I don't blame them. If I were a pro, I probably would be there grinding them all because it seems like a really profitable way to just survive to 20% against people who are trying to bag up. Let's go. And I just want a quick shout out to two people. One is Hamid Koram. This guy, I looked up his Hendon. He's got like 2,000 in his Hendon. So this must be his bread and butter because he bagged 8 times. 8.
What the heck?
8 times. Do you know how much money that is? That's 8,009. It's like
I wonder what the record. I wonder what the record is.
I mean, this guy has already made like 7th place money.
Yeah, that's insane.
Let me just take 8th place money, maybe 7th place money, because that's over 12 grand just bagging 8 times. I think.
I mean, it is gambling.
8th place.
It is gambling because you can obviously fire 15 times and blank all of them, right, and then pay like more than what you would have paid for a direct day two buy-in.
Yeah.
But if you're kind of good at
well, especially this one with a 20% bag, 20%.
Because really what you're doing is you're playing a satellite, right?
Yes,
that's kind
exactly.
of what you're doing.
Yep.
So if you're good at satellites and you're good at kind of short 1 day little things, maybe this is like the kind of thing for you.
Yeah.
Not only can you go and get a crazy shot at 8 bags, but this is the way that you can get into day two with the 200 to 300 big blind stack instead of the 70 that you get with a direct day two buy-in. A lot of value in playing the day ones if you can do it.
We'll talk about that real quick. But second shout out is to our man Frank. Frank got I believe the second most bags with 5. So.
And Frank you're kind of tearing it up, man. Like towards the end of LAPC, I mean, the guy finished fourth in the player of the series.
Yeah, I mean, you got two
Um,
Remingtons and
yeah,
a couple
crazy,
other.
and just so many like final tables and final table misses, and in the bag 5 times.
Mhm.
You're just playing lights out, man.
Yeah, but let's quick talk about what you said there, right? So, if you play these satellites, right, your chances of getting a big stack, that's kind of what you're interested in, right? So the average chip
Yeah.
stack going into day two is 200K. Okay, so let's just look at
Hmm.
all of these bags. All of these people on the right hand column is the ordered by chip stack. So looking at the right hand column, right? I'm down here at the bottom. There's 1 page, 2 page, 3 pages. So I've gone 4 pages. I've gone over 4 pages, and now I've gotten to the average chip stack here with Ronald West. Okay, that's over 4 pages. So let's go up. This is like about a half page, right? So 1, 2. So there's 2 pages, maybe 2 3/4 pages are over the 200K, and 4 1/4 pages are under the 200K, right? So just right there, that's really in line with what I typically do see. I feel like when you play these things, you're about 2/3 of the time you're going to have less than an average stack. Okay. Now the other thing I wanted to quick point out is, let's just to look at Frank's bags. Frank was probably trying to get a bunch of chips every time, but all of his bags 105, 81, 56, 37, 22. He didn't bag over average any of these 5 times, which is, it's great for getting the money, for making money, but he wasn't able to come in with over average on five bags. Let's look
Yeah.
at Hamid, right? He had 423 and then 313. So he actually bagged 3 pretty big stacks, but then 5 times not big. So, you know, you have to make it through the satellite piece, and then of the times you make it through the satellite piece, only a third of the time are you going to have more than a starting stack, it seems like. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a kind of a small sample size because obviously it's just all chances at doing a thing, right? It's hard to get a big stack, but then I don't know if, a bunch of people firing a bunch of bullets and not getting a big stack means that, somehow inherently that means that you can't get a big stack or something. You
No,
know
I
what I
mean
mean? It's like
obviously you
it just,
can, right? People do
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I've done it before. It's just I'm saying I've looked at the last several quantums, and the numbers are
Hmm.
generally similar, like across the field. Obviously our play styles matter. Mike Danley's
Yep.
more likely to end up with a big stack and not double bagging as much. He did double bag here though,
Yep.
so props, shout out to him. Than some people are. And but in general, like just the big numbers, it always seems to be about 2/3 have less than starting, and about one
Hmm.
third has more than starting, right?
Yeah.
So
Xander's asking in chat, why do you think the rebuy period for day
it was only
two
two
was
hours.
only 2 hours? Isn't it always only 2 hours? It's always
It
two
is
hours,
always
right, for
two.
quantums.
Yep, it's always two. So
Um,
every time they do these day two buy-ins, it's only 2 levels of entry, and I'll tell you why. So at least I'll tell you why. I'm pretty sure why. So these quantums, they are trying to. So in my mind, day two is day one. That just feels
mhm.
like what in my mind day two is day one, and the day ones are satellites. They're weird
Yep.
satellites. That's all it is.
Yep.
But the way they set them up is they sell them as day two being day two, and the way that they try and make it seem okay, right, is they've already given you money. They've already, you're gonna cash earlier because you played all through day one. It's not like you have to get to 10% of this field, because then you'd really like, oh, 10% of this day, that's like a day one cash, right? 12%, that's a day one cash. We're gonna pay you out at you did the math right there, is like 27%.
Yep.
So that feels like, yeah, I already fought hard in day one. I'm gonna make the cash earlier, right? For day two, they don't want to make it that many levels, because that really will tell all these guys who played hard through day one for $200, hey, this pro just, like, the field's really low already, and this guy bought in really late, and I feel like I'm getting screwed even harder here. Now it really feels like a day one late entry where he's killing me with his
It
money, right?
does. I really dislike the way that the quantums land you on day two, and there's like a second bubble that you have to get to, and sometimes you're like actually kind of a little bit far away from it. So yeah, that's probably the primary reason why they keep it a little bit shorter on the day two bind, so you don't extend that bubble out even further, right?
Yeah, yeah. And Andrew
And
basically
then
said what I did in more concisely. They have to maintain the illusion of fairness for the day one players. And
yeah, yeah,
yep, and that's really the heart of what we're trying to say. And with that bigger cash, right, they pay out 30% of the field. I mean, if they let you register late, you could literally, like, to a normal level, like if they let you register until you had 20 bigs, you could literally register probably like a level or two
right.
before cashing.
Right.
That would not
Right.
feel
You could
good
you
for any of
that
those
would
day
be
one players.
super late max reg,
Yeah.
and you would still be, kind of decent with 30 or 20
Yeah.
bigs or whatever the
Yeah.
heck it is, right?
And you would
Um,
still you'd lose money when you do it, right? You can min cash, you lose money your day two qualification because of the way they work. But I mean, that's just bad optics. That just the jig is up for anyone who didn't know it
yeah.
already for these day one
Yeah,
players.
but I think poker players in general are kind of like gamers where they love just deconstructing a game and trying to understand how they optimize it. But these like quantums just feel so ridiculously overcomplicated
Yeah,
for
they
almost no
really
reason.
are. There's so many layers to them, and it's
It's
just
it's like this isn't even fun deconstruction, right? We're just like actually the reason why this is happening is because of this.
yeah.
This is not even like a fun optimization, like you're trying to optimize like team fight tactics or something, right? This is just like
Yeah.
trying to reverse engineer like very silly
Yeah,
overcomplication.
and at the end, you don't figure out like how to win more. You figure out like who's getting screwed
Right.
the most, and it's like, oh, that sucks.
And like you and I were just talking about the 1K that we're so excited about. Like we have no idea what happens on day two. Is it you don't have a
Absolutely.
direct day two
Yeah.
buy-in? So are you in the money or are you not? And if you're not in the money, where's the bubble,
It's gonna
right?
be
Like
so weird. It's gonna be like 50% of the day two field gets in the money again. It's like, but we're already. I don't.
just I don't
As long
I
as we're
don't
talking
understand
about
that.
that stuff, why don't we take a look at the actual payouts? So they did put the
Yeah.
payouts out. So here's the thing with that prize pool number 758,000. Not really what they're playing for. Not what these payouts are. As they mentioned at the bottom here, day one payouts. 115,000 plus the double qualifiers 87,000, 88,000. So your total prize pool is really about 550
That is such an
555k, you know?
insane amount of day one payouts and double qualifiers, right? It's 25% basically of the
Yeah.
total pool. And I think we usually see somewhere around like maybe 15 to 20. So this is definitely skewed up a little bit on the higher
Yeah, I
side.
think so. It's that 20% bagging is what it is. But I knew this was going to be on the higher side. But, congrats to them. They did make it to the 500K number in the actual, day two prize pool. So they hit the guarantee technically, in my mind anyways. They hit it in their mind yesterday. So looking at these payouts, right, I mean, this is what we're talking about. 27%, you make $460. So if you bought into day two, if you bought into day one and you got all your bags, you get extra money, cool. But let's look at the top, right? So effectively, this is a $550,000 prize pool, and first place is getting 120%. And I talked about this
As
before, so I won't beat it to death. But when you look at the actual prize money, this first place is ridiculous,
Yeah, that's
absolutely
pretty high.
ridiculous. And then if you look down at ninth, I mean, ninth place is 110, like like 1/12th, 1/13th or something. I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's not even it's less than a tenth of first. It's less than an 11th of first. It's crazy. You make it all the way to
Yeah,
ninth place in this thing, and you get what, 9 buy-ins if you make it all the way to
it
ninth
really
place.
it really does just kind of feel like because of the way that the quantums are structured and because so much goes out for the day one payouts and the double qualifiers, that you somehow have to, in a marketing kind of way, make first place bigger. So it feels like they almost intentionally just, basically pegged first place to the total prize pool instead of the day two prize pool, which is probably what they should be doing. I think you mentioned this before. But then they don't really kind of scale it out to the rest of the payouts. So it is just this is what I mean. It just feels like they kind of make a decision that causes these three complications, and then they just keep making another complicated decision on top of it, and then just get this whole like convoluted thing which nobody can figure out.
No, for sure, for sure. And we've talked about this before. Go back if we have time. Maybe we'll put a link here. We did a lot of math on quantums. In particular, the one that triggered that math was so because they already paid out 200K. There are situations that can happen, right? Where if they had exactly hit their guarantee on the nose here, this day two prize pool would have been 300K, which is that's fine, but it's a 500K guarantee, which is just so misleading, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So we got Ed saying in chat, did Mo cancel the Daily Survivor?
yeah,
Is there a Daily Survivor?
there is every night there's a survivor,
Oh,
and it's like a $200 or $300 buy-in survivor, right? And I don't see
hmm.
anything on the blog, so I'm not sure. Maybe someone who's boots on the ground like Frank could let us know. Um, as long as we're talking boots on the ground, I just saw on the blog there's a update with some chip counts. So let's take a quick look at some updated chip counts here. At the top of this chip count list, familiar name, Edberto Pilotin. You'll remember him from Commerce. He got the Remington in, I think, what was the name of the event? The 40, not the 40-40. What was the one after that? or no, was there an XL and a 40-40? He won one of the multi days at
Hmm.
and did he knock me out? I'll tell you what, I think no, he didn't knock me out. He took a lot of my chips. I went to his table. He sucked out on a river and took half my stack, which is apparently good enough because someone else knocked me out after that. But yeah, so he actually looks like he's one of the top stacks right now with 1.9 million at the
Wow.
4,000, 8,000 level with 216 players left. So nice. We have another friend of the pod here, Anthony Patessa, has almost a million. Way to go there.
Nice.
Joe Lerman, he's we'll probably see him at Live at Commerce. He was a Live at Bike regular, wasn't he? 930K. Old Paul Win, 750K. Sohal,
Oh, Scott Grippo. So Grippo is the guy who, yeah, I always say was a pretty good player. I forgot where he went, like super deep in something like last week.
oh yeah. I think he was at the 10K table, right?
That's what it was.
Yep.
10K. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Another good player.
Yeah. So
Wow,
and
look at
then
this. Jarrett, Sohail,
yep.
Eddie. Wow, look at this.
Yeah, they all have some chips here. Let's see. So they're at the 4-8. So these are down here near the bottom. These are 50 big blind stacks, but doing good. Yep. Jared Griner's in there 440 and Mike Scandiardi 420. So Rudy's still in it around 400K. So and Ed Alicani almost 400K as well. So congrats.
It's
Way to
so
go. Keep
annoying.
battling, guys.
So annoying that they did this on a Tuesday. Like if you just beat a dead horse, right?
Yeah.
If you just like ran the day ones starting like on Saturday or Sunday of the weekend and then just landed your day two on Sunday, this could have been a $1.5 million guarantee and you probably would have broken that. And like how does running that daily on Saturday somehow make up for it? Like I don't get it.
don't
I don't get the
understand
reasoning.
either.
It just must be that there's just like a loud group of people who are screaming for like one day tournaments on the weekends or something, and they're just catering to
But
them
like
for
you
some
said,
reason.
you
But
can
I
still
just,
run them. You can still run them. I don't.
yes, you can.
They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. NA Swip. Hey, good luck at Rolling Thunder. Good luck up at Thunder Valley. Let us know how it is when you come back or tune in because I'm so tempted to
Oh,
go up
yeah.
there. I really wish I can get up there. I'm definitely
Yeah,
gonna go
get-
sometime in the next couple years. Next year probably.
Get that ring, buddy.
Frank says the Sadie is canceled tonight. So interesting. I don't know if it's because of tables or because of interest, but yeah.
It looks like the room was pretty full from the videos that Frank was sending us. So
Yeah,
must
but there's
must
only
be.
216 players left. So yeah, they're still. I mean, they're still using 20, almost 30 tables probably. So, yeah. And I said it last week. It's just so silly for the bike to overlap the end of the commerce for almost no reason. They should have just ran this all week and then had it on the weekend, like you said. But whatever, they're just sick of you winning too much, man. They just don't want you to win anymore, Derek. Uh,
I feel like I this has been like one of the worst runs I've had over the last 2 weeks. I don't even remember the last time I cashed something. It's been pretty
it's
brutal.
been 2 whole weeks. He can't remember past 2 weeks. That's it. That's as far as it ever goes. 2 weeks.
It's been 2 weeks since my last final table. It's just
Jeez.
brutal out here.
Yeah. I know it's tough to be on a dry spell there. Uh,
You know what? I think it's just the sheer volume of bullets is why it probably just feels like a ton because there was a lot of bullets in there.
Yeah. This from the guy who wrote the "Don't Fire Multiple Bullets" article, right?
No, I did. I actually made a whole big speech about it.
But it's all right. There are a couple events we'll be able to play throughout this series, and afterwards, the Gardens will be running their spring series, which will include a 1K. And a little birdie named Kevin told me that he is probably and almost certainly going to start running more 1Ks, just 1-day 1Ks, which will probably bleed into 2 days, but in just one starting day. So pretty much the exact opposite of a quantum. And I couldn't be more excited. I mean, if it,
One day.
yeah,
But
I mean,
why?
it's going to
why
bleed
wouldn't we
into a
just go
second
to-
day
But why wouldn't we just go,
with
to
multiple
oh,
flights.
oh, wait, no, he's not saying a 1-day one. He's saying a single
A single
day
starting
one
day,
and-
yeah. Single day one
Okay,
flight.
and then-
Yep, 40-minute levels, and then depending on the people, maybe they could be hour levels on day 2, maybe later. But just one starting flight, and it's it's the exact opposite of a quantum. It's nice and simple. You buy in. There's one starting day. Reg closes. We play. I love it.
It's so nice understanding how a tournament works, right?
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
But I don't get why you wouldn't just throw it a second day in there to get more in the prize pool. But yeah, let's see how it turns out.
Yeah,
Because to be honest, like it's usually the Saturday that gets like the ton of people, right?
yep,
Anyways,
yep. Saturday usually has twice as many. They usually have, I mean, I think they got almost 300 or 280 or something on some of these Saturdays, right?
yeah.
So
You know what? I would just love to see the experiment, right? So imagine the one day it gets like a million anyway.
that
So I
would be
mean,
impressive. I think
yeah,
he's probably going to make the structure too good for us to bust and rebuy that many times, but who knows?
yeah.
So I did ask him that same question, and he didn't say for certain, but he had a couple factors that he threw out there, right? So one
Mm.
of the things is he's saying is that they do have not staffing problems, but like just suddenly ramping up for these events is difficult, right? So they had some
Mm.
staffing issues in finding enough dealers and floors and everyone,
Ah,
right? So that's why they don't run as many series probably. That's why they don't do this other stuff. And then the other thing is it is disruptive to their dailies. As we've mentioned several times on the show, their dailies kill it, right? Every
mm.
one of their dailies is just doubling guarantees. I mean, every weekend that daily is 45K to, it's a 20K guarantee, and every weekend it's like somewhere between like 42 and 50K in the prize pool for that daily, just a
I mean that
250
I mean
daily.
that's pretty good just for like random dailies that aren't tied to a series or anything. That's pretty
Exactly.
impressive.
And
Yeah.
they always have those promos going. They just had that free roll. They used to do the WPT satellite free rolls, right? So they kind of turn their dailies into a series, a little mini series, right? So they
Yeah.
have that going, and he doesn't want to disrupt them too much by taking all the dailies away for a couple days. So there's a couple little factors, but I think let him run a couple of these. Let's see how successful we can make them, and maybe that'll grow from there, right? I mean, if we fill the whole room, maybe it's like, well, why don't you just run a second day? We'll fill the whole room again, and you'll make more money, right?
Yeah, I also don't even get like the staffing thing because you have to staff for Saturday anyway. So anyways,
Yeah,
yeah.
like I said, I don't run these things, so maybe
Yeah.
DJ can, if he's still in the chat, can tell us how hard this stuff is. But those are
Yeah.
some of the things that he was mentioning. So looking forward to that. There will be some other options
Yeah.
going on, so that's awesome. So all these bullets and whatnot, I don't know. I've been lucky this year in that the larger buying tournaments, I've fired fewer bullets. I've certainly fired away in the lower ones, but I've been lucky so far in the bigger ones. But if you're firing all these bullets in the big ones in the larger tournaments here, Derek, have you ever thought of asking for some staking or asking people for some money? I've been reading on the Twitter streets. There's some really clever ways to get some really cheap and free buy-ins. There's a couple guys out there that have really put the blueprint out. Have you've been watching the Twitter streets? You've been watching what
I,
people are saying about our old buddies like Tom Dwan?
I have, and it's really disappointing because Tom Dwan is somebody very early in my poker career when I was playing cash games. Like I modeled myself after this guy. Like a lot of my original play, and it even probably still carries it today, was based on basically his approaches to the game and how he was like so aggressive back in the day when people were not. And he always just seemed like an upstanding guy. But yeah, let's get into what's going on here.
Yeah, so there's several people. One of his older friends brought up an old debt that he's not paying on, and then Haralabas Vulgaris, huge successful sports bettor turned Dallas Mavericks,
Yeah.
NBA analyst, quantitative analyst, etc., etc. Giant in the gambling space, right? He apparently has a story as well. Apparently, Tom Dwan owes him 350,000 since
Yeah.
2010, which is interesting because an interesting the other thing that he said was he put out like a meme. It was like that feeling when you're sitting at basically he was at the Hustler stream with Tom, and he's like, you watch this guy who owes you 350K scoop a $3 million pot and you don't
Right.
get paid. It's like,
Right.
what? Right?
Yeah. And you know what? Like, I remember that there was some stream recently where he was in Vegas, like for like a poker after dark or something like that, right? And they were kind of asking him like, "Hey, where are you staying?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't have a place yet. I think probably I'll just get a room at the Mandarin Oriental, right?" I'm just like, "Wow, that's you're just a baller, right?" But it's just so interesting when you see these guys just like splurging all this money when you just owe people hundreds of
I know,
thousands of
right?
dollars, right? Maybe you should be staying at the Paris, buddy, and
Yeah.
just pay down some of your debts.
Or
But yes,
best case they're comped. I don't know. And Peter Jetton is the friend they were talking, the one of
yeah,
his older friends. owes him. Apparently, the joke now is that everyone out in Jeju, which is where, Jeju, Korea, that's where
Yeah.
I went for my honeymoon. It's a beautiful place. All the guys at Triton are just going to be lined up around Tom trying to get money. And then of course everyone remembers the battle he had with Jungle Man,
Jungle
the
Man.
heads
Yeah.
up challenge that never finished, went to arbitration, and trying to
Yeah.
get that all paid off. That was
Yeah.
a saga. So
I remember when I first saw that, I was like, "Oh, this just seems weird." So, it being Tom Dwan, it just seems like one sort of anomaly. We're not just getting both sides of the story or something. But now when all the rest of the stuff comes out, it completely changes my view of him, right? Because yeah, man, this guy just seems to be
I mean,
kind of shirking all his debt.
it's like a gambling problem, right? I mean, it
Yeah,
sounds like a gambling problem. And then, Tom wasn't the only one making headlines lately, right? So just last week, someone a little closer to the tournament community was getting in the headlines for all sorts of things. And I kind of retweeted it too. I really wasn't a fan of the way. I don't want to turn this into a discussion about Poker.org, but I wasn't a fan of the coverage Poker.org was giving Maurice. So Maurice Hawkins was getting back into the limelight, so to speak, because he chopped up one of the circuit main events, and then after that, the guy who he owes a bunch of money to was popping up in the Twitter streets here, Randy Ga, and he's been putting
yeah,
up a post every day, giving receipts about
evidence.
money
Yeah,
owed.
yeah, all
So
the texts and
he's
everything. Yeah,
he's got a judgment against him. He's got texts. So, I mean, you just don't know people who are winning, people who look like they're winning, people you just
yeah.
like you said, Tom seemed like he was on the up and up with people, but you never know what happens. You don't know, just like you don't know if someone with a good handed mob actually gets to keep the money or is winning. You don't
Right.
know what these guys are
Yeah,
thinking or
you just never know what's going on, especially with tournament players. So many people are staked. So many people are just absolutely buried in makeup. Um, yeah, and like Maurice Hawkins, like before Ari came and just decided to win every single ring that he played. This guy was leading in circuit rings, right?
Mhm.
And obviously must have. Well, I saw him play at the World Series, and definitely an interesting style of play, I guess nowadays.
Yeah, he actually
So maybe
played.
he's maybe.
I played at his table in the main event. It's the only time
Oh,
I've
did
ever
you?
played with him. Yep, I had the
Yeah.
table I ended up busting on was um, Joe Hashem, Maurice Hawkins, Bill Klein, Bill Klein, who was at the Remington, by the way. He was
Yeah.
there. He actually bagged up with Andrew and I, and also this I think South American kid who had won a bracelet the year before, and then Ryan Toss. It was a sick table. Anyways, but that's the only time
Wow.
I had ever
Crazy.
played with Maurice Hawkins. And all I
Yeah.
noticed was he had a lot of table talk, a lot of hand and chip movement, a lot. He really reminded me of some of our kind of old regs who just, and by old I mean the guys who just been playing forever, who just have like a routine on every street for every player who are constantly like, he wasn't doing any like the all in fake calls or anything, but they have like a play they're doing, like they're doing a show. They're putting on a show when they're in a hand with somebody.
Yeah, like I just watched him. I mean, other than his antics, right? Just watching him on stream, and there was definitely a lot of antics coming from him. But just his style of play just seemed very outdated, I guess I would describe it as. Um, so I think maybe a lot of the stuff that was working for him before in those circuit events was kind of paying off. Maybe he was running pretty well, but right now I feel like his style of play probably doesn't isn't going to lend itself to a lot of long-term success unless he kind of catches up a little bit with his play.
Hmm.
But yeah, just super unfortunate to have people like owing money like this, and right, like I don't. I think with the poker org kind of thing, maybe the format could have been better, right? If you're going to let people publicly talk when they are sort of a known scammer, right? You should turn it into more of an interview style thing where you're challenging their assertions a little bit and giving them a little bit more of a challenging interview other than just giving him like a platform to give a speech. Like I'm all for even for people like that, like just let's hear their side, even if it is just to allow them to discredit themselves, right? Because they're being so silly. But definitely maybe the format that they chose wasn't great.
Yeah, this last month with the Poker.org posts, I've really noticed that their posts and the tone of their posts and like seems like the audience for their posts, I just feel like they're just trying to be clickbaity. They're trying to get
Mm, I see.
attention. They're not
Yeah.
trying to be a respectable a respectable reporting outlet. They're trying to be, they're trying to be almost like a social media influencer, right? Like they're putting out the kind of content lately that I would expect, someone who's just like a controversial vlogger to put out, who like goes around and just puts out. Like one of the things they put out was if they put out a poll asking if a fish doesn't know that a hand was a chop, should they lose the pot? And it's like, why would you even ask that? That's,
Oh, I see.
I mean, it may have
You know
come up
what?
in a stream or something, but like that's just absurd, and that's not like what are you just trying to get assholes to come on and like argue, like trolls to argue with people who are reasonable? Like what it just
Yeah,
like
I
that
think
post,
the
even
way.
worse than Maurice's post, was just like, what are you doing? You're just like, do you even know what poker is? Or are you just trying to like, like I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, social media definitely has a ton of value, right? Number one, just getting you access to some of the smartest people in the world, and also allowing you to build different communities, right? But then the way that you actually have to engagement farm, if you're trying to make money off of social media, tends to lend itself to behavior like this, and it's just really shitty.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just disappointed in that they're poker org, right? It's not like one
Yeah,
guy
like a
trying to
.org.
become a
Yeah.
vlogger. It's like, we all thought they were going to become like a poker news competitor, but instead it's like, it's like you think there's going to be like a competitor to the big newspaper, but they're actually a tabloid, right? That's kind of what I'm feeling, and it's like,
It's interesting because I actually haven't even noticed this, but probably because I haven't been like, I don't go to their site. I just every once in a while just see something like kind of pop up on my feed and I look at it. I haven't actually even noticed that it's been that clickbaity, but yeah,
yeah.
I'll pay a little bit more attention to
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Just I've really noticed it since the Maurice thing, but yeah. But getting back to kind of be careful around there. I just want to give props out to Elvis Dumas. He's since moved to Vegas, but he was a LA LA grinder, and he was doing kind of the PSA service announcements that we're seeing out of everyone calling out these guys now. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to scroll through his Twitter, but for at least a year and a half, he was kind of just intermittently putting out these scammer alerts for various people that he had run-ins, and it seems like Elvis was just being way too nice. Seems like he kept loaning money out to a lot of people in the community, unfortunately, and was getting taken advantage of. So, props to
Yeah.
Elvis for doing that kind of thing.
It's tough to do that kind of thing, but it's just so important for the community, right? Because I feel like a lot of people, like the Peter Chetin, right, with Dwan, and even obviously with Bob Vulgaris, it seems like they have been trying to settle this for years, along with Jungle Man too, right? And then when they actually decide to finally come forward because they have reached like the end of their rope and there's nothing they can do about it at this point, people start coming out of the woodwork, right? And now, even though it damages the image of like this poker hero that I have in Tom Dwan, I think it's really important for everyone to know, like, you should be really careful lending this guy money, right? Don't lend it to him just because he's a celebrity, because of his reputation. He plays all these like nosebleed cash games, in Asia. You got to be super careful, right? So it's like, Elvis does, and guys like Elvis do us all like a big service, right? To put these things out there publicly.
Yeah, and the guys in the chat are giving some respect to Bill Klein for grinding with us. I agree. Every time I see him, I just say no one loves the game more than Bill. It's so great.
No one loves it more, man. This dude will just like play a 250K at the Poker Go studio and then show up for a 400 the next day at the Commerce.
Yep.
Because that's just what he just loves the game.
Yeah, and he told me his plan is he's going up to the Win for the main event. And he's going to stay for some 10Ks up there. So, obviously he was really looking forward to winning our tournament down here and getting like 2 buy-ins or something. But I think he actually I think I might have screwed up. We were sitting next to him for a while, and he said I was starting to sound like a stalker because I remembered the color of his car, and maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that because the guys, it was getting late, and he was talking about wanting to get out and find his car there, and the guys were someone's compliment him, said, "Oh man, look at that. Bill Klein doesn't even use valet, a man of the people,
Yeah.
And I remembered one time for a day 2, I was parking to come in, and I remembered I saw Bill Klein getting out of his car, so I mentioned like, "Oh yeah, I remember I saw you getting out of your whatever car," and he was like, "Oh, that's kind of creepy." So I think I screwed it up. That's too bad. I guess I'm a stalker now.
He's always messing with people.
Yeah, Bill's awesome. Bill's great. All right, so unfortunate, and I used to you see a lot of really awesome, you see a lot of famous faces, a lot of big names playing even in these little commerce tournaments, right? So you and I have both played with Ryan Garcia before at these commerce
Yeah.
tournaments. We've had some
Yeah.
experiences, and in the just coming out this week, like he has a huge fight coming up next month, massive, massive fight, millions and millions on the line. But he's had some crazy news coming out, press, crazy things coming out of his social media accounts, like.
Yeah,
Uh,
just really, really weird behavior. I mean, you know what? Like, and when I played actually a lot of hours with him, just over some random tournaments, he just ended up like at my table a lot. And he just seemed like a super normal, nice kid, obviously an elite athlete. And this is a funny story. One time he won a big pot and I went to give him a fist bump. And instead of giving me a fist bump, he gave me a jab. Like he jabbed my hand. But he did it so fast that I didn't even see it. And then he just like barely grazed my hand, and it made me realize that he like probably precisely put it exactly like to the millimeter of where he wanted it to be. And then it made me realize like this is what, like a top tier, A class, like, professional boxer does. It was pretty nuts. But yeah, just like a super nice guy. So what's happening on social media right now with him seems just out of character and very bizarre.
Yeah. Do you want to fill in for the people who may not have been following along? I scrolled through the article here, but man, there were a lot of ads in this thing. It might have been hard to follow.
Yeah, basically, I'm not sure when it started. Was probably within the last week, where all of a sudden on his Twitter account, he just started like spewing a whole bunch of nonsense and like kind of almost like maybe conspiracy theories about stuff. It was like really bit hard to follow. But that article was basically just talking about how his ex-wife was really concerned about his health, and this seemed like really strange. And then you have some MMA fighters kind of speaking out and saying, hey, this guy seems to be having some sort of like psychotic break. I don't know if it's from CTE or is it from drugs or something, but this guy definitely needs help. And it also just feels like if this is just going on day after day after day, where is his support system? Like, what's going on here, right? This guy is like a top tier professional athlete and boxer. Where's your support system?
Yeah, I guess he went on. I don't know this Andrew Tate guy, but I guess he went on Spaces with him, and
Yeah.
he was saying all these things that he was kidnapped, he was held down, he was forced to watch like these awful sex acts. He was taken to the Bohemian Grove. I have no idea. I'd never even heard of that. Whatever
I don't know what
they
that
say
is.
that is. But apparently all the conspiracy theorists know what it is. I was scrolling through some of the this Twitter stuff. I guess Alex Jones did a expose or a video on it one time, so that obviously that means it's super legit. But anyways, that's the kind of stuff like some of these guys are saying Illuminati stuff, some of the conspiracy theories about those in power and these pedophile rings. But yeah, basically everyone's just really concerned, and they don't know
Yeah.
if this is, if anything he's saying is true, it's extremely alarming and scary and dangerous. And if it's not true, then whatever's causing him to say this, whether it's like you said, drugs or alcohol or stress, I don't know, something, that's also scary and dangerous for him. So, we really hope
Yeah.
that somebody gets, is able to get through to him and to, help him confirm
Yeah.
do something.
And for people that have played with him, he's just so like humble and just like nice kid, right? So this is so out of character. It's very strange, and
Yeah.
I hope he gets the help that he needs.
Yeah, at the tables, I think I've played with him twice, and one time he's definitely was trying to keep a low profile both of the times, and definitely was definitely a very polite kid for the most part. Now,
Yeah.
one of the times though, the second time, he and his friends, he was there with a couple friends that were also playing, and they were drinking a couple Coronas, so they were still very nice, but they were very like
Boisterous.
yeah, it was like he had some frat boys around having a good time, right? So they
Yeah,
were,
young kids.
yeah. So we're hoping this has a good outcome. I hope that he recovers, that everything's fine. Hopefully he can still do that fight next month, because
Yeah.
that would be killer. I've heard he's
Yeah.
gonna make. I mean, what he's gonna make like Mayweather money for that fight. I've heard.
Yeah, he's a really really top tier boxer. I'm not sure if people actually watch him box, but man, that kid is so talented, and definitely hope that he recovers quickly and also gets back out to the poker tables, because he is a pleasure to have at the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know he loves poker. He loves the competition. So.
Yeah, and actually it was cute because his parents came and played too in the same tournament the very first time I played with him, and they actually like sat down at the same table. It was just kind of funny watching him, play against his dad and his mom at the same. It's so random.
That is kind of crazy. That is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think it's that time. Yeah. Let's go. It's
Well, we do have one announcement about what's happening next week, right?
Oh, I guess it's that time. Yeah. You want to cover this?
So why don't you cover it? Because I feel like you're the one that kind of pushed for our surprise guest next week.
Sure, sure. So I was trolling the Twitter streets. I was out there just hanging out, and I was logged into our LA Poker Roundup Twitter account. I hope that all of you are following us. And I saw that there was a bit of a discussion going on. And Matt Savage was in, and I chimed in there. And in fact, I believe somebody gave us a shout out on there and said, "Hey, Matt, you should go and talk to the LA Poker Roundup guys." So hit him up.
That might have been Jesse. So I think
I
maybe
think
it
it
was props
was,
to
yeah.
Jesse.
So props
Yeah.
to Jesse for making the suggestion. We jumped on that. Got a hold of Mr. Matt Savage, tournament director extraordinaire. Mr. I don't know what your real name is, but Naswip going up there to Thunder Valley. You'll see him. But tournament director for WPT, used to work here at
Commerce.
Commerce for a long time. I unfortunately got here after he stopped that, but he is going to be coming on the show next week. We will have him on, so make sure that you turn your alerts on. Make sure that you hop onto Twitter and send us your questions. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you have your old stories ready. Everything. We are going to have Matt Savage
Yeah.
on talking about. We're going to try and get some good stories from the good old days. We're going to try and figure out what the heck they were doing right, what we can do to
Yeah.
help, and we're
I'd
gonna
love to
we're
love
gonna
to
beg
love to
him.
get his. Yeah, I would love to get some of his insights on what's going on with LA Poker right now, and what he kind of sees there, and feels like he can probably talk a little bit openly, so that's nice.
Yeah.
So
Yep, and we're gonna beg him to bring the WPT back. If there's anything that can be done in our power
yeah,
and his power, we're just gonna beg him and beg him and beg him. So, and then if there's any time left, I know for me the reason that I interact with Matt's posts online is because he's always talking about rules, and I freaking love rules. So, as the
yeah,
the head of the TDA, or is that what the meeting is called? When they have that TDA meeting every year, they always have great discussions, and I love to jump into those and read those. So I like to stay up to date. So
yeah,
in order to stay up to
yeah,
date, gotta stay up with Matt.
and I love it. He just talks so openly about it and just offers his opinions on things. You really get to hear how he thinks. What's up to Federal Mayhem in chat?
Oh yeah, what up? What up? I don't. Is this a first time chat? I don't recognize that name. You guys, I'm not gonna lie. It's tough when you don't have your name in there. I feel weird saying Scala and Federal Mayhem, but you
I
know,
like Federal Mayhem. It's nice name.
all right, it's kind of neat. All right, so that being said, make sure you turn in next week. Make sure you're here for Matt. So let's jump into the weekly roundup. So obviously, it is winning on the green. As we said, we are in the middle of the very first major here, the 500K. That
Hmm.
is going to be the majority of stuff going on. But for this next week, we have during the week, as we mentioned before, there's a number of mixed game events happening. $500 buy-ins, limit EO8 or better, then the Heroes event, then the Limit Triple Draw event, and then the Rose event. And those are the weekdays from here on out. There are, as someone said, there's that Survivor pretty much every day. At the end of the day, I don't remember if they're calling it a Survivor or a Satellite. And then there will be a Hold'em tournament pretty much every weekday. But, the interesting one, and the one I have circled on my calendar, is this Saturday, 150K guarantee, $400 buy-in, starting at 11 a.m. over there at the bike. So for me, that's the only really good tournament this weekend. If you are into
Yeah.
bounties, they are doing one on Friday at 4 p.m. It's called a Super Bounty, in which case it's a $400 buy-in with $800 bounty starting in the money. I'm not really into bounties, so what I'm looking at is this Saturday event. On Sunday, they are going to run a 40K guarantee, 250 buy-in, which is going to be pretty similar to any of the other dailies around, kind of similar to the Commerce
Yeah.
ones.
And
So
it
that's
looks like
there.
on that Friday too at 11 a.m. there's a super stack small guarantee for 30K. But if you're kind of jonesing to play some poker, some no limit hold on Friday,
Yep.
there is that 11 a.m. event. But yeah, it's going to be that the deeps. I'm not don't love the 1 day tournaments, but nothing else going on this weekend. I think I'll definitely come out for that one.
Yeah,
Nice
and
guarantee.
I like the 1 day tournaments. I certainly don't mind, and that will we'll be there. We will see you there. We'll be firing away. Switching over to Hollywood Park, they got their schedule out now. this weekend they don't have anything particularly out of the ordinary for them. They'll be doing their Friday 8K guarantee bounty event. They're going to be doing their regular 3K guarantee Saturday Sunday. So nothing too exciting going on over at Hollywood Park, but they're regular tournaments. So if you're in the area and you like those are happening. And then the same thing with Commerce and with the Lucky Lady. They will be having their regular daily schedules. So if that is your area, if that's where you want to play, go ahead. But I think that since we're in that daily price range, if you're playing on Saturday and you don't have a really good reason, you really need to be over at the bike just because that's the best guarantee. It's going to be the best field. That's where you want to go.
Yeah. 150K for 1 day is sort of ridiculous, but they've been blowing past those guarantees all the time.
Yeah. And just to keep your calendar marked, the next special tournament over at Lucky Lady will be at the end of the month. We'll talk a little more in detail about that later, but I believe if the 30th is a weekend, it's probably then. But like the last weekend of the month, they're going to be doing a 20K guarantee, which is twice the size of their normal ones. And over at the Gardens, the one to circle over there, I mean, not the Gardens, I'm sorry, at Hollywood Park, their big tournament for the month, they have a couple 25Ks towards the end of the month, but their biggest one will be a 50K mystery bounty on Saturday, and that's on the March 30th. So that's going to be their big one then. Okay, that is all I've got.
Like lots of stuff going on. So whatever you choose to play, good luck to you.
And if you don't choose to play the 150K guarantee, clearly you, I don't know, you must just be afraid of Derek. Yeah, you must just be afraid of Derek. You just think he's gonna think it's his time.
That's true. I am super freaking due after his last 2 weeks. It's hard to describe the hands that
he's due. I'm looking forward to the vlogs because I think that this could be your angle, Derek, for your vlog. You could do angry bust out vlogs, like stop being so nice. You could just do a bunch of bad beats. You could just be angry. You could be like the trooper.
I wish I had filmed most of the hands that kind of went down because it was just like every other hand. It was like the whole table just going
Again, those reactions would be the best.
Right.
You could be known as the guy who always gets bad beat. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Remember to subscribe. Remember to like. Remember to hit the notification button. And I guess we'll see you on Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys better all be there at the bike, man. It's going to be a big one. So we'll see you on Saturday.
All right. Till next time. We'll see you at the tables, guys.